Hey folks, this is a video about our research paper giving us kind of a general overview of what we're going to be working on for the next 3 to 4 weeks. Again, this isn't going to get into specifics. This is just going to kind of get your head around the big picture of where we're going and what we're doing and some of the requirements here. Let's start off with what are you going to do to choose a topic? So ultimately, almost any topic is available to you with a few minor exceptions. The only catch is I have a couple criteria that you have to hit. So number one, it needs to have multiple perspectives on it. So you couldn't do something like geckos because geckos are awesome. End of story. Move on. Next research project, right? You need to pick something that can be viewed from a couple of different angles. And there's really two ways you could go about this. The easiest way is to pick a controversial topic like the death penalty, or should vaccines be mandated, or should we teach critical race theory in high schools? Those are kind of binary issues. Either you agree with it or you don't. There's clear two perspectives to approach this topic on. That one would work. You could also pick something that is maybe less controversial, but it still has multiple ways you can look at this. So for example, if I want to do something historical, maybe I take a look at a historical perspective of Vietnam War. And then my two perspectives might be, one perspective would be personal accounts from soldiers, so primary sources about what it was like to fight in the Vietnam War versus public opinion. What did citizens think about the Vietnam War? So that would be a way that it's not necessarily like a controversial issue. You're still researching something and you're looking at it from two different angles. The other requirement is that it needs to be researchable. So whatever you pick, you need to be able to find credible, reliable sources to defend both or all perspectives of the topic that you're going to be writing about. So you couldn't just choose the topic of like racism as your research project. One, it's too big. And number two, you're not going to find any research that argues that racism is a good thing, right? Outside of like crappy Nazi blogs. And I'm going to tell you, you're not going to use crazy racist propaganda in a research paper. That is not credible research. So it has to be researchable from multiple perspectives. And then the couple of banned topics are gun control. You can't use that because that's my example paper. You can't do abortion. I'll explain why in a second. And then you can't really do controlled substances, so not drugs or alcohol. Well, you can if you want to do an interesting and original topic regarding controlled substances. I think that's okay. You just have to get your parents' approval and my approval. And I'll tell you what I'm not going to approve is like, hey, Mr. Rested, I want to do a research project about why teenagers should smoke weed or should be allowed to smoke weed. That is not an academic conversation that we're going to spend our time on in schoolwork researching. But if you have other topic surrounding sort of a controlled substance, let me know and we'll talk about it. We'll figure out if it's workable, then get your parents' permission. And then lastly, I want this topic to be something that you actually want to learn about. Don't pick something that you already have a deep knowledge of and a deep belief of, especially because remember, you're going to have to be representing multiple sides of the issue, which is why I don't let students do abortion anymore. Because in the 7 years that I've taught it, there's never been a student who's been able to accurately write both perspectives. And that doesn't mean that I don't think you should have an opinion on abortion. You definitely should. But I would rather have you pick something that you want to learn more about rather than something that you just want to research to prove your own beliefs. That's not the purpose of this paper. So some of the requirements is you're going to need to find at least 4 to 6 sources that you're going to research on and then use in your final paper. At least one of these sources has to come from a research database, and at least one of these sources has to come from the general internet, just the Googles. Because I want to see you be able to pull out credible, reliable information in both arenas, research database and the general internet. And you can mix and match those any way you want. So you might have 2 research database articles and 2 general internet articles, or 1 and 3, or 4 and 1, however that breaks down. You're also going to need to be completing a note chart and some formal outline for sections 1 through 3 of your paper, which I'll explain in a second. And I'll give you more detailed information about how we're going to compile the note charts and how you're going to share your notes with me, as well as how you're going to create that outline. And ultimately, all this research and this note-taking is going to culminate in a 4 to 8 page paper, and that seems like a lot, but it's actually not so bad because we're going to break this down into 4 1 to 2 page papers, and I totally believe everybody can write a 1-page paper. And you can do that 4 different times, kind of looking at 4 different aspects of your research topic. So the first paper is going to be the background information. So this is why this topic is important, why it's relevant, and then what are the 2 to 3 main ideas that someone would need to know about this topic to understand kind of the nuances of the different perspectives you're going to give me. What's the basic information that I need to know? This is called expository writing, where you're not really presenting opinion, you're just reporting on information. Then the next two sections are going to be representing those two different perspectives that you were researching. And notice that there is no opinion, no personal opinion expressed in here. There might be opinion represented of people who believe that particular perspective, but your opinion has to stay out of this. You are being an objective reporter. So for example, if perspective one is about why people should have stronger gun control, and perspective two is about why people shouldn't have more gun control, we should be able to take either of those two papers, put them in front of a person who believes either for or against gun control. They should read it and be like, yes, that is my argument. Those are all the main points that I would make. You've left nothing out. I could take this and use this as an expression of my opinion. So that's another reason why I don't want you to pick something that you have a strongly held belief on, because it's really hard to get to that objective representation of the other side. And then finally, after you've shown me that you can provide background information and accurately look at two different perspectives, you're going to be creating your own opinion. Like, what do you think about this topic? And it's going to be your educated, supported opinion, where you're going to be creating a specific thesis about here's what I think about this topic and here's why, and you're going to back it up with claims, reasoning, and evidence. You're going to cap your paper off with a works cited page, where you're just listing all the sources that you used. Again, I'll have a video specifically about that. Just do keep in mind, in order to get an A on this section, you need to include statements of credibility for each source, as well as summarize each source for me to go that little extra mile. Cool. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, be sure to let me know, but I am excited to get you guys doing some independent research and learning about a topic that you want to learn about. Good luck.